The vast chamber glittered with the light of 1,000 stars. Beings from across the galaxy mingled in their finest attire, their voices a symphony of clicks, whistles, and translated speech. This was the grand reception hall of harmonious unity, the heart of the Galactic Confederation that had maintained peace for over 3,000 years. Ambassador Daniel Powell adjusted his formal suit and took a deep breath. Even after 6 months as Earth's representative, he still found these gatherings overwhelming. Hundreds of species from garden worlds, planets with perfect climates, minimal natural disasters, and virtually no predators, regarded humans with a mixture of curiosity and unease. "Remember to smile, but don't show too many teeth," said Karen Williams, the cultural liaison standing beside him. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style that wouldn't confuse aliens unused to human fashion. The Floraxians interpreted as aggression. Powell nodded. "How are our security arrangements?" Lisa Morgan approached, her athletic frame moving with the effortless grace that made other species nervous. As security chief, she had spent weeks learning the station's layout. "All clear so far. The Confederation guards are watching all entrances. Alan is monitoring their security feed from our quarters." "Good," Powell said. "Let's introduce ourselves to the SETI delegation. They're voting on our membership next week." Across the room, hidden among the chattering diplomats, a figure watched with eyes that reflected no light. Zarek of the Vexillian Compact adjusted his translator and focused on the humans. 3 standard days ago, he had received an encrypted message offering triple his usual fee. The target, the entire human diplomatic team. In his 2 centuries as an assassin, Zarek had eliminated 327 targets across 17 systems. His success came from careful research. Humans troubled him deeply. Their world, classified as a death world by Confederation standards, should never have produced a spacefaring civilization. Earth's gravity was crushingly heavy to most species. Its weather systems included storms that would devastate garden worlds. Its oceans harbored creatures that would be apex predators anywhere else. Its lands teemed with thousands of venomous, poisonous, or simply aggressive species. And somehow, humans had not just survived but thrived. Zarek had studied their physiology with growing concern. Humans possessed redundant organs, a skeleton reinforced with impact-absorbing material, and muscle density that exceeded Confederation averages by 40%. Their circulatory system could rapidly seal wounds that would be fatal to other species. Most disturbing, they could continue fighting even when gravely injured. The assassin's hidden communicator buzzed softly. He touched it with one slender finger. "The package is prepared," came a whisper. "Delivery in 10 minutes." "Acknowledged," Zarek replied, watching as Ambassador Powell laughed at something a Centauri diplomat said. The neurotoxin had been specially formulated for human biology. It would target their central nervous system while being harmless to other species, important in such a public setting. The plan was elegant. The toxin would be added to the human delegation's drinks, causing what would appear to be a tragic allergic reaction to alien food. Powell raised a glass in toast to the Arcturian ambassador, a tall creature with flowing tentacles who had supported Earth's membership bid. Lisa Morgan stood nearby, sampling nothing, her eyes constantly scanning the room. Zarek felt a flicker of professional admiration. The security chief seemed perpetually alert in a way that reminded him of top predators. He had noted this trait in all 4 humans. They never fully relaxed, as if expecting danger at any moment. It made sense for beings from a death world. The server approached with a tray of drinks, specially prepared for human consumption. Zarek's associate, disguised as kitchen staff, had assured him the toxin was undetectable. He watched as Powell accepted a glass with a small nod of thanks. Morgan glanced at the drink, then suddenly reached out and knocked it from the ambassador's hand. The glass shattered on the floor. "Sir, don't drink that," she said, her voice carrying to Zarek's listening device. Her eyes scanned the crowd, pausing briefly on his location, despite his perfect camouflage. Zarek felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. fear. Somehow, she knew. Without any technology, without any warning, she had sensed the danger through pure instinct. The assassin touched his communicator. "Abort," he whispered. "They know." As security personnel converged on the spilled drink, Zarek slipped away through the crowd. For the first time in his career, he questioned whether he had accepted a contract beyond his abilities. The Deathworlders had noticed him, and now he would have to face them. Zarek moved swiftly through the service corridors of Harmonious Unity Station. His breathing remained controlled despite the unusual sensation of panic flickering at the edges of his consciousness. In 200 years, no target had ever detected his presence before he struck. Behind him, he heard the station's security alerts beginning to sound. The humans had not only identified the poison, but were already hunting for its source. He needed to reach his escape vessel in the auxiliary docking bay. The assassin paused at an intersection, checking his digital map. 3 more levels down, then across the maintenance sector. He touched the wall panel to summon a service lift. "Stop right there," a voice said from behind him. Zarek turned slowly. Lissa Morgan stood 20 paces away, her stance balanced and ready. She wore no visible weapons, but that meant little. The Vexillion had reviewed enough data to know humans could turn almost anything into a weapon. "Security Chief Morgan," he said, his translator giving his words a slight mechanical quality. "I am simply a diplomat taking the shortcut." Morgan took a step forward. "Your species doesn't sweat. There's moisture on your neck ridges, and your left hand keeps touching your side pouch, where I'm guessing you keep the rest of whatever you tried to poison the ambassador with." Zarek's inner eyelids flickered in surprise. The human had noticed details that most scanning systems would miss. He abandoned the pretense and reached for the paralytic dart gun hidden in his sleeve. Morgan moved with shocking speed. Before the assassin could aim, she closed half the distance between them. Zarek fired hastily, the dart missing her by centimeters. The lift doors opened behind him. He backed inside, firing 3 more darts to keep the human at bay. As the doors began to close, Morgan did something completely unexpected. She ran forward and threw herself into the small gap between the closing doors. Bones in most species would have shattered under such pressure. The human's shoulders merely compressed as she forced her way inside, the doors straining against her frame until their safety mechanisms reversed them. Zarek struck her across the face with enough force to crack the skull of a centaur. Morgan's head snapped sideways, but she remained conscious. Worse, she smiled, a terrifying display of teeth that her cultural briefings had specifically warned against. "That all you got?" she asked, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. The assassin had never encountered a species that could endure such impacts. Before he could react, Morgan drove her fist into his midsection with such force that 3 of his 5 breathing sacs collapsed. Pain flared through his nervous system. The lift descended as they fought in the confined space. Zarek used every technique from 17 different combat styles. The human blocked or absorbed his strikes, while delivering her own with devastating effect. When the doors opened, he managed to strike her knee joint and push past her. According to his research, damage to human leg joints severely limited their mobility. He sprinted down the maintenance tunnel, hearing her footsteps pause behind him. Victory seemed possible until he heard an impossible sound, running footsteps, rapidly gaining on him. He glanced back to see Morgan pursuing at full speed, her injured leg functioning almost normally. Zarek had studied human biology extensively. Their joints contained self-lubricating fluid sacs and supportive ligaments that could temporarily compensate for damage. But seeing this adaptation in action was terrifying. The human was not even limping. He reached a narrow bridge spanning a deep service shaft and began to cross it. Halfway across, he triggered the emergency release, sending the bridge collapsing into the darkness below. No being could jump the 5-meter gap that now separated him from his pursuer. Morgan stopped at the edge of the gap. Zarek allowed himself a moment of relief, until she backed up several steps, ran forward, and leaped across the chasm. Her hands caught the edge of the platform, muscles straining as she pulled herself up. The assassin stared in disbelief. The jump required strength and coordination that should be impossible in the station's artificial gravity, yet the human had made it seem almost routine. As Morgan climbed onto the platform, Zarek realized a horrifying truth. Humans didn't just survive on a death world, they had evolved as its apex predators. And now one was hunting him. He turned and ran, abandoning his equipment to increase his speed. For the first time in his career, completing the contract seemed less important than escape. The Deathworlder was coming, and nothing in his experience had prepared him for such a pursuit. News of Zarek's failure spread quickly through the shadowy networks of the galactic underworld. In a private chamber on the lower levels of Harmonious Unity, 6 figures gathered around a table of polished black stone. Red light cast their faces in sinister shadows. Drazkor, leader of the Crimson Claw Syndicate, tapped his clawed fingers against the table's surface. His scales reflected the dim light as he addressed the others. "The Vexillion failed," he said, his voice a low hiss. "One human female chased him across 3 sectors before he escaped. He has gone into hiding, refusing all contracts." A murmur passed through the assembled crime lords. The Crimson Claw Syndicate controlled illegal operations across 12 systems. They had never failed to eliminate a target, until now. "These humans are more dangerous than we anticipated," said Mirak, Drazkor's financial advisor. "Perhaps we should reconsider our opposition to their membership in the Confederation." Drazkor's inner eyelids narrowed. "The Council fears them for good reason. A species from a death world has never joined the Confederation before. Their physical capabilities make them unpredictable. Unpredictability threatens our business." He turned to a slender figure standing in the shadows. "Nix, what do you think? You have studied these humans longer than most." Nix stepped forward. The master assassin species was a mystery. Some said she was a genetic hybrid created in forbidden labs. What everyone knew was her perfect record: 362 successful eliminations without a single failure. "The humans intrigue me," Nix said, her voice soft yet carrying clearly. "They are physically impressive, yes, but that alone does not explain Zarek's failure. I believe we must observe them more closely before taking action." Drazkor considered this. "You wish to spy on them yourself?" "Yes, not to kill, yet to learn." Nix's eyes gleamed in the red light. "If we understand them, we can defeat them, or perhaps use them." Meanwhile, in the newly secured human quarters, Alan Wright hunched over a computer terminal. The science officer's fingers moved rapidly across the alien interface as he accessed the Confederation's biological database. "How's it coming?" Lisa Morgan asked, entering the room. A small bandage covered the cut on her cheek from her fight with Zarek. Alan didn't look up. "I've gained access to their xenobiology files. The Confederation has detailed scans of every member species. Physical strengths, weaknesses, sensory abilities. Everything." "Good work." Lisa examined the screen. "Are you supposed to have this access?" Alan grinned. "Technically, I requested it to identify potential health hazards to humans. Not my fault if I'm thorough in my research." Karen Williams joined them, carrying a tray of food. "Ambassador Powell is meeting with the Arcturus delegation. They're pushing the Council to fast-track our membership after the assassination attempt." She set down the tray. "You should eat something. It's been 12 hours since either of you had a meal." Lisa took a protein bar, but remained standing. Someone hired that assassin. Someone with resources and a strong desire to keep Earth isolated. "The question is why?" Alan said, still studying the database. "What are they afraid of?" None of them noticed the small maintenance drone hovering outside their window. Inside it, Nix watched and listened through enhanced sensors. She had expected to observe military training or advanced weapons. Instead, she witnessed something equally disturbing. The humans had gone without sleep for over 30 hours, yet showed minimal impairment. They consumed caffeinated drinks that would be toxic to most species. They discussed violence and combat tactics with casual expertise. Most concerning was their constant adaptation. In just hours, they had already improved their security protocols based on what they learned from the assassination attempt. They analyzed the poison, traced its components, and identified likely suppliers, all without Confederation assistance. When Karen caught a glimpse of movement at the window and approached to investigate, Nyx retreated quickly. The human's reaction time had been milliseconds faster than her intelligence reports indicated possible. As she guided the drone away, Nyx felt something unusual. Doubt. Perhaps Zarek's fear had been justified. These Deathworlders were unlike any species she had encountered in centuries of wet work. For the first time, she questioned whether even her skills would be sufficient against such creatures. Drazkor slammed his fist on the table, cracking its surface. 5 days had passed since Nyx began her observation, and his patience had run out. Enough watching, he hissed at the assembled lieutenants. The final vote on human membership happens in 3 days. We must act now. Nyx stood silently in the corner, her face unreadable. The humans are more dangerous than we thought. They don't just have physical advantages. They think differently. Drazkor's scales darkened with anger. Then we will not rely on a single assassin this time. He gestured to 5 figures who entered from the shadows. I have hired specialists from across the galaxy. Each is the best at what they do. The 5 assassins were a collection of the deadliest killers in known space. Vrex, a Shadar shadow jumper who could move through solid objects for brief periods. Klaatu, a Marinian with poison barbs covering his body. Tesla, a Quantix tech specialist who could hack any system. Mors, a Volcrin shapeshifter who could mimic any species. And Dravix, a carnivore hunter whose sense of smell could track prey across vacuum. The humans will die tonight, Drazkor said. Attack from 5 directions simultaneously. No one has ever survived such a coordinated strike. In the human quarters, Ambassador Powell paced the room while his team prepared for the upcoming council vote. Security has improved, but I'm still concerned, Lisa said, checking her makeshift weapons. Confederation rules prohibited human firearms on the station, so she had improvised. A metal rod from a chair leg. Kitchen knives balanced for throwing. A spray bottle filled with cleaning chemicals that would cause temporary blindness. Alan looked up from his computer. I've compiled files on all known species in this sector. Potential weaknesses, sensory limitations, reaction times. He tossed data chips to each team member. Study these. Memorize them. Karen entered with several trays of food. We should eat. No telling when we'll get another chance. Ambassador Powell stopped pacing. The council session tomorrow is our best opportunity to secure Earth's membership, but whoever is behind these attacks is getting desperate. He picked up a nutrient bar. Lisa, what's our security status? Lisa tapped a handheld device. I've set up motion sensors throughout this sector. Alan modified them to detect the unique movement patterns of different species. She smiled grimly. And I've prepared a few surprises for uninvited guests. Powell nodded. Good. Tomorrow I'm going to address the full council and make our position clear. His expression hardened. I'm also going to announce that Earth looks forward to meeting whoever has been trying to kill us. Karen raised an eyebrow. That's going to sound like a threat in most alien languages. It is one, Powell replied. As darkness cycle began on the station, the 5 assassins moved into position. Tesla disabled the main security systems from a maintenance hub. Mors, disguised as a Confederation guard, took up position near the human quarters. Klaatu, Vrex, and Dravix approached from different access points, coordinating through encrypted channels. Target area secured. Tesla whispered into her communicator. Surveillance systems disabled. Proceed on my mark. Inside their quarters, the lights suddenly went out. Emergency lighting bathed the room in a dim red glow. They're here, Lisa said calmly, picking up her improvised weapons. Alan closed his computer. Right on schedule. He pressed a button on his wrist device, activating countermeasures. The assassins moved in perfect synchronization. Vrex's phase shifted through a wall, expecting to surprise the humans in their sleep cycle. Instead, he found them fully alert, standing back-to-back in the center of the main room. How can they see in this darkness? Vrex hissed into his communicator. Unlike most species, the humans had not activated light amplification devices. Their eyes had simply adjusted to the dim light. Before any of the assassins could react, Lisa threw a knife with deadly accuracy at the wall where Vrex was partially phased. The blade caught him as he solidified, drawing first blood. The hunt had begun. But as the assassins would soon discover, they were not the predators in this scenario. They were the prey. Blood dripped from Vrex's shoulder where Lisa's knife had caught him. The Shedar assassin had never been injured during a phase shift before. It should have been impossible. Yet somehow the human had predicted exactly where he would materialize. The targets are prepared, he whispered into his communicator. Proceed with caution. Across the room, Alan Wright picked up a small device he had built from station components. With a flick of his wrist, he activated it, sending a high-frequency pulse through the room. The sound was beyond human hearing range, but devastatingly painful to several alien species. Drevix, the carnivore hunter, howled in agony as the sound hit his sensitive ears. His advanced smell and hearing, perfect for tracking, became a weakness as the sound scrambled his senses. He stumbled back into the corridor, trying to escape the painful noise. Klaatu burst through a ventilation shaft. Poisoned barbs extended. He launched himself at Karen Williams, expecting an easy target. Instead, she pivoted with surprising speed, throwing a blanket over his barbed body. The thick fabric, soaked in a mixture Alan had prepared, neutralized the poison on contact. They know our weaknesses, Klaatu gasped into his communicator as Karen delivered a powerful kick that sent him crashing into a wall. Ambassador Powell faced Moores, who had shifted to mimic Powell's own appearance. Impressive, Powell said calmly, but not quite right. He gestured to his duplicate's hands. Human fingernails don't grow in that pattern. Before Moores could adjust his form, Powell grabbed a container of water and splashed it across the shapeshifter. The liquid disrupted Moores's molecular cohesion, forcing him to revert to his natural state. In the control room, Tesla frantically tried to regain access to the station's systems. Somehow, her carefully planted viruses had been identified and isolated. A message flashed on her screen. Nice try. A-Duh. Alan had not only anticipated the tech attack, but had traced it back to her location. Station security forces, alerted by a program he had written, were already surrounding the maintenance hub. Lisa Morgan moved through the darkness with lethal efficiency. The assassins had expected to hunt sleepy, disoriented humans. Instead, they faced opponents who had gone without rest for over 72 hours, maintaining peak combat readiness through what the aliens considered biological impossibilities. In the confusion, Vrex attempted to phase shift through the floor to escape. Lisa stomped hard on the exact spot where he was phasing, her boot connecting with partially solid matter. The Shedar screamed as molecular bonds tore, his ability to phase disrupted by the perfectly timed blow. How? He gasped, fully materializing in pain. How did you know? I studied the energy pattern of your phase shift, Lisa explained, securing his hands. It leaves a slight electromagnetic disturbance. Easy to track if you know what to look for. Within minutes, 4 of the assassins had been captured. Only Dravix had managed to escape into the station's maze of corridors. As station security arrived, Ambassador Powell addressed the captives. Now then, who wants to tell me who hired you? Klaatu, still recovering from the neutralizing chemical, looked up in disbelief. You haven't slept in days. You should be impaired. Powell smiled. On Earth, special military units trained to function without sleep for up to 5 days. Just one more adaptation from living on a death world. The aftermath brought immediate consequences. The assassination attempt during a diplomatic mission was a serious violation of Confederation law. Several council members demanded an investigation, which led security forces to a previously secured data room. Lisa Morgan used her security clearance to access the station's historical records while the investigation proceeded. What she found shocked her. Earth had not been randomly discovered as humans had been told. The Confederation had been monitoring Earth for centuries, watching with increasing concern as humans developed technology at a rate far exceeding normal evolutionary patterns. According to the classified files, a special council had debated whether to prevent humans from achieving interstellar travel altogether. The fear was simple: Deathworlders with human adaptability might eventually dominate the galaxy. As Lisa downloaded the files to show Ambassador Powell, a shadow moved behind her. Nix had been watching the entire operation unfold, learning from the failures of the other assassins. And she had come to a troubling conclusion. The humans needed to be eliminated, not just for the Syndicate's interests, but for the safety of the entire galaxy. Drazkor received the news of his assassin's failure with cold fury. 5 of the galaxy's deadliest killers had been defeated by 4 humans in less than 15 minutes. Only Dravix had escaped, and he was now hiding in the station's lower levels, refusing to attempt another attack. "This cannot stand," Drazkor hissed to his remaining lieutenants. "The vote on human membership is tomorrow. We have no more time for subtle approaches." Nix entered the chamber, her movements silent as always. "The humans are more dangerous than we imagined," she said. "They don't just have physical advantages. They possess something worse." "What?" Drazkor demanded. "Adaptability," Nix replied. "They learn from every encounter. They prepare for threats they've never seen before. They improvise weapons from ordinary objects." She placed a data chip on the table. "And now they know about the Confederation's plans for Earth." Drazkor's inner eyelids narrowed as he viewed the stolen security footage of Lisa Morgan, discovering the classified files. "This changes everything. If the humans present this evidence to the Council, they will gain many sympathizers." He made a decision: activate the Shadow Talon. His lieutenants gasped. The Shadow Talon was the Syndicate's most elite assassination unit, comprised of 7 operatives from different species, each with complementary abilities. They had never failed a mission in their 300-year history. They were only deployed when the entire Syndicate's interests were at stake. "Will that be enough?" Nix asked quietly. Drazkor's scales darkened. "It must be. And I want you to join them for this mission. 8 against 4. Not even Deathworlders can overcome such odds." On the morning of the Council vote, Ambassador Powell prepared to address the full assembly. The captured assassins had revealed connections to anti-human political factions, but not their ultimate employer. The evidence Lisa had discovered about Earth's long-term monitoring would be the centerpiece of Powell's speech. "Are we secure?" Powell asked as they prepared to leave their quarters. Lisa nodded. "As secure as possible. Station security has finally taken the threat seriously. We have an escort to the Council chamber." Ellen adjusted the small device attached to his wrist. "I've modified our personal communicators to work even if the station systems are compromised. And I've loaded the classified files onto 3 separate devices, just in case." Karen handed out small capsules. "Take these. They contain stimulants I've synthesized based on local compounds. They'll keep us alert for another 12 hours if needed." Powell looked at his team with pride. In the face of multiple assassination attempts, they had not only survived but thrived. They had turned danger into opportunity, just as humans had always done on Earth. "Let's go change galactic history," he said. As they exited their quarters, 16 Confederation guards fell into formation around them. The hallways had been cleared of all other personnel. Security drones monitored every corner and junction. "Impressive," Karen commented. "They're finally taking us seriously." What none of them realized was that the heightened security played directly into the Shadow Talon's plan. Their leader, Xelthos, had anticipated the response and prepared accordingly. His operatives had infiltrated the station days earlier, positioning themselves throughout the route to the council chamber. As the human delegation reached the main transit hub, the station lights flickered and died. Emergency systems failed to activate. Every screen went dark. The security drones dropped from the air, disabled by a powerful electromagnetic pulse that affected only Confederation technology. In the sudden darkness, the Confederation guards reached for their light sources, but the Shadow Talon was already moving, their enhanced vision allowing them to navigate the perfect blackness. They slipped between the confused guards, heading directly for the human targets. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of panicking or freezing, the humans immediately formed a defensive circle, backs to each other. They didn't reach for lights. They didn't call for help. Most disturbing of all, they didn't seem disoriented by the complete darkness. They can see in the dark. HFYs realized with shock, not as well as specialized nocturnal species, but far better than the evolutionary history of a diurnal species should allow. Another Deathworld adaptation that hadn't appeared in any briefing. As the first Shadow Talon operative struck, Lisa Morgan was already moving to intercept, a slight smile on her face. The humans weren't running from this ambush. They were welcoming it. The Shadow Talon had never encountered anything like the humans. In the pitch darkness of the transit hub, what should have been a perfect ambush turned into chaos. Lisa Morgan moved with frightening precision, her fists and improvised weapons finding weak points in alien anatomies that even the assassins themselves didn't know they had. Alan Wright activated devices that emitted targeted frequencies, disrupting the natural abilities of 3 operatives simultaneously. Karen Williams used her knowledge of xenobiology to strike pressure points that incapacitated rather than killed. Most disturbing to the Shadow Talon was how the humans worked together. Without speaking, without visible signals, they coordinated their movements as if sharing a single mind. When one human was threatened, another would appear to defend them. When one found an advantage, the others immediately exploited it. Zelvos, leader of the Shadow Talon, had never known fear until this moment. His team had killed presidents and overthrown governments. They had eliminated targets protected by armies. Yet 4 humans were not just surviving their attack. They were winning. Retreat and regroup, he ordered through their secure channel. Focus on separating them. The operatives fell back, using smoke and sound grenades to confuse the humans. In the confusion, they managed to cut Ambassador Powell off from his security team, forcing him down a separate corridor. HFY smiled in the darkness. The diplomat would be the easiest target, soft, untrained in combat, vulnerable without his protectors. He followed Powell alone, confident in his ability to eliminate this final obstacle to his mission. He found Powell in the station's central garden, a vast chamber filled with plants from across the galaxy. Emergency lighting bathed the scene in a dim blue glow. The ambassador stood calmly beside a reflecting pool, seemingly resigned to his fate. "You fought well, human," HFY said, drawing his ceremonial blade. "But your guards cannot save you now." Powell smiled. "You think I'm the weak link in our team, don't you? The soft diplomat who needs protection." Something in his tone made HFY hesitate. "Before I became a diplomat," Powell continued, "I served 20 years in Earth's Special Forces. We have a tradition on our world. Our diplomats often come from military backgrounds. We believe those who understand war best are most motivated to seek peace." The ambassador's stance shifted subtly. His body language transformed from diplomatic formality to something primal and dangerous. "But when peace fails," Powell said, "we remember our first profession." What followed was unlike any combat HFY had experienced in his 3 centuries as an assassin. The human moved with a combination of formal military training and raw survival instinct that seemed impossible to predict. Each time HFY thought he had found an opening, Powell countered with a technique from a different fighting style. Station security forces finally restored power and surrounded the garden. They found Ambassador Powell standing over the unconscious form of the galaxy's most feared assassin. Throughout the station, the other members of the Shadow Talon had been similarly defeated, captured but deliberately left alive. The council meeting was delayed by 6 hours, but proceeded with dramatic new context. Ambassador Powell presented the evidence of Earth's long-term monitoring, then addressed the stunned silence that followed. The Confederation feared humans because we evolved on what you call a death world, he said to the assembled representatives. You worried that our physical capabilities and adaptability would make us dangerous. Today's events prove your concerns were justified. He paused, looking around the chamber, but they also show something else. Despite multiple attempts to kill us, we chose to capture rather than kill our attackers. We seek membership not to dominate but to contribute. Earth has much to offer the Confederation, including security expertise that clearly seems needed. The vote that followed was nearly unanimous. Earth was granted full membership, with additional provisions for human security forces to help train Confederation personnel. In the aftermath, a story spread through the galactic underworld. Zarek, the legendary Vexillian assassin, was approached with a contract that would have made him wealthy beyond imagination. The target was a human diplomat. Zarek refused immediately. When pressed for an explanation, he simply rolled up his sleeve, revealing scars from his encounter with Lisa Morgan. There are 2 types of assassins, he told the disappointed client. Those who have never targeted humans, and those who will never target humans again. He paused. I am proudly in the second category. Find someone from the first. They'll learn soon enough why veteran assassins flee when Deathworlders arrive.